Do you have a dog? We used to. My husband and I, we had a dog, and his name was Caesar. He was a Boston Terrier, and he lived for 13 and a half years. He was definitely a mama's boy. I was the one he came to for snuggles, and he went to his dad for playtime. And he was a very good boy. He passed away in 2022. We miss him a lot. This week's story was an idea of my husband's. He thought I should write a story about a couple dogs waking up to an epic winter wonderland and going on a fun adventure walk. So I hope you enjoy every second of it, that it brings you a smile. And even if you don't have a dog, that you can sort of live vicariously through this story and feel the love between a dog and their person. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do so and consider liking this story and commenting. Please let me know if you have a dog and what they're like, what breed and how old, and where are you listening from? I'd love to know how far these stories are reaching. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. Bye. You awaken slowly, warmth cocooning you beneath the soft layers of your blanket. There's a stillness in the air, the kind of quiet that feels almost enchanted. You turn your head slightly, and just beyond the curtains you see it, a soft white glow. It's brighter than usual for this time of morning, almost reflective. Before you can fully register it, a gentle weight presses against your feet. Riley, your large, loyal dog, stirs, his golden fur catching the faint light filtering into the room. He lets out a long, contented sigh, his eyes blinking open, just as Poppy, your spirited, smaller companion, leaps onto your chest. Her little nose nudges your chin instantly. She's awake and she's ready. A quiet chuckle escapes you as you sit up, gently setting Poppy on the bed. She jumps off and scrambles to the window, her tiny paws scrabbling at the sill. Curious now, you swing your legs over the edge of the bed and pad over to the window, pulling back the curtain. The sight takes your breath away. Snow, thick, luminous, and untouched, covers everything. The garden fence, the trees, even the swing set in the park across the street, all blanketed in shimmering white. The branches of the tall oak tree outside your window are heavy with powder, and when the slight breeze stirs, a flurry of flakes tumbles gracefully to the ground. Poppy lets out an excited bark, her tail wagging like a metronome. Riley, ever the calm observer, stretches lazily before coming to stand beside you, his head brushing against your hip as he peers outside. His nose twitches as though he can already smell the snow. You linger for a moment longer, taking in the rare transformation of the world outside. Snow this deep doesn't come often here, and it feels like a gift, one you're eager to unwrap. But first, the morning routine. You step into your slippers, fluffy ones that feel like clouds beneath your feet, and shuffle into the kitchen. Riley's heavy paws follow closely, while Poppy scurries ahead, her nails clicking against the wood floor as she spins in delighted anticipation near her food bowl. You fill their bowls with breakfast, smiling as Poppy dances with excitement, her tiny body nearly vibrating with energy. Riley sits back, his tail sweeping across the floor as he waits with a patience that always amazes you. As the dogs dig into their meals, you begin your own quiet ritual, something comforting in its familiarity. The kettle goes on first, the soft whoosh of the gas flame breaking the morning stillness, and you reach for your favorite mug, a ceramic one with a tiny chip on the handle, but perfect in your hands. And while the water heats, you prepare your tea, the scent of chamomile and lavender filling the air as you drop the sachet into your mug. You let your gaze wander out the window as the kettle begins to whistle. The snow is still falling, lazy and unhurried, the flakes so large and intricate you can almost see their delicate patterns. The old bird feeder sways slightly in the breeze, its perch dusted with white. You wonder if the chickadees will come later, brave enough to search for breakfast in the flurry of weather. Once your tea is ready, you sit at the small kitchen table, savoring the warmth of the mug in your hands. The dogs finish their breakfast, and Riley pads over, resting his chin on your knee with a look that says, "Ready when you are." Poppy is already by the door, her tail furiously wagging, as if she can hardly contain herself. You smile at their enthusiasm and finish the last sip of your tea before heading to the hall closet. Layering up feels like preparing for an adventure. You pull on your thermal leggings and your softest sweater. Then wrap yourself in a thick, quilted coat. The scarf is next, a deep forest green that you loop carefully around your neck. Then come the gloves, knit and well worn, but warm. And finally, your trusty boots. The dogs vibrate with excitement as you grab their leashes. Poppy's is bright red, with a little bell that jingles softly, while Riley's is a sturdy blue collar that suits his dignified demeanor. And when you open the door, the cold air rushes in, crisp and invigorating. You step out into the transformed world, the crunch of snow beneath your boots filling your ears. The dogs pause for a moment, their noses twitching as they take in the newness of it all. Poppy lets out a joyful yip and leaps forward, her tiny paws sinking into the snow, while Riley follows at a steady pace, his breath misting in the cold air. The adventure awaits. And as you take the first steps towards the untouched trail ahead, the world feels impossibly beautiful, as though this moment was made just for the three of you. The trail stretches ahead, blanketed in snow so thick and undisturbed that it almost feels wrong to step on it. Almost. The crunch of your boots against the surface is satisfying, a sound that carries through the stillness of the morning. Riley walks beside you, his paws pressing deliberate impressions into the snow. Poppy bounds ahead in short bursts, her tiny legs sinking deeper than she expects, but she's unbothered. It's colder here in the open, the kind of crisp air that nips at your nose and makes your cheeks tingle. You pull your scarf a little tighter and glance up at the trees. Their branches are heavy with snow, sagging just enough that you wonder if they might just unload on top of your heads. A few flakes swirl down from above, catching the sunlight like bits of glitter before melting on your gloves. Poppy suddenly stops, her nose buried in the snow. Her tail wags furiously as she sniffs and snuffles, sending puffs of white flying around her face. Riley watches her for a moment, then lowers his head to investigate the spot himself. Whatever scent they've found, it seems to have them both intrigued. You crouch down to see a tiny cluster of tracks, small paw prints, zigzagging through the trail, disappearing into the underbrush. Must be a rabbit. Your heart warms at the thought of the small creature hopping through the snow just hours ago. As if on cue, a flash of movement catches your eye. There, just at the edge of the trees, a rabbit darts from the bush, pausing for the briefest moment before bounding deeper into the forest. Poppy spots it too, letting out an excited bark and tugging at her leash. Riley perks up, but stays composed, his tail wagging steadily. "Sorry, Poppy," you say with a laugh, tugging gently on her leash. "That one's too quick for you." You press on, the trail winding slightly as it leads deeper into the woods. The dogs are in heaven, their noses glued to the ground, their tails wagging non-stop. Every few steps, Riley stops to sniff a branch or inspect a patch of snow, while Poppy tries to dig into a drift that's nearly as tall as she is. You can't help but smile at her determination. Her little paws flinging snow behind her like a miniature snowblower. The forest around you is alive, with small details you might have missed if not for the dog's pace. The way the sunlight catches the icicles dangling from a low branch, the faint sound of snow tumbling off a distant tree, the sharp, clean scent of the forest. It's the kind of morning that feels like it could stretch on forever, timeless in its simplicity. Then, just as you're about to crest a small hill, Riley freezes. His ears swivel forward, and his body stiffens, alert. You follow his gaze, scanning the trees ahead, and at first, you don't see anything. But then, there it is, a beautiful deer, standing perfectly still among the trees. Its coat blends almost seamlessly with the trunks and branches, a soft grayish brown against the white backdrop. It's a doe, her head raised, ears twitching as she listens. Her breath forms faint clouds in the cold air, and her large, dark eyes seem to lock onto yours for a moment. The dogs are frozen too, watching intently. Poppy takes a step forward, her tiny paw crunching on the snow, and the sound is enough to startle the doe. She darts away, her hooves barely making a sound as she bounds deeper into the woods. You watch her go, marveling at the grace and ease with which she moves. That was something, wasn't it? You murmur to Riley, scratching behind his ears. He leans into your touch, his body relaxing again, while Poppy lets out a frustrated little bark, as if to say, "Why didn't we chase her?" The trail levels out, and you come to a small clearing. In the summer, this spot is where wildflowers bloom in vibrant clusters. But now it's a pristine field of snow, glittering under the morning sun. Poppy runs ahead, her leash trailing behind her as she bounds through the open space. Riley follows at his own pace, his tail swaying lazily as he surveys the area. You let the dogs roam for a few minutes, watching as they explore. Poppy leaps into a snowdrift and disappears almost entirely, only her wagging tail visible above the surface. Riley stays closer, nosing through the snow until he finds a stick buried beneath the surface. He picks it up triumphantly, his head held high as if he's found a priceless treasure. "Good find, Riley," you say, laughing as he brings the stick over to you. You take it from him and toss it gently. It doesn't go far. Sticks are harder to throw in snow this deep, but Riley chases after it with the enthusiasm of a puppy. The morning stretches on, the cold never quite reaching you thanks to the warmth of your layers and the sheer joy of watching the dogs play. As you begin the trek back home, you glance over your shoulder at the clearing one last time, already looking forward to returning here on another snowy day. The walk back begins with a gentle, easy pace. The dogs seem to sense the shift in energy, their earlier bursts of excitement mellowing into a contented calm. Riley stays close by your side, his leash slack, while Poppy trots ahead, still curious but noticeably more tired now. Her little legs have worked overtime in the snow, and every so often she pauses to sniff a new scent or inspect a patch of snow before continuing. The sun is higher in the sky now, its golden light filtering through the trees and casting long, soft shadows across the snow. The forest feels warmer, though the air still carries that sharp, invigorating chill. The snow crunches underfoot with a satisfying rhythm, each step a gentle reminder of the crisp, quiet world around you. You notice things on the way back that you'd missed earlier. The faint tracks of a squirrel zigzagging between the trees, a cluster of berries clinging stubbornly to a snow-dusted bush, and the way the icicles hanging from a low branch catch the sunlight and gleam like crystals. At one point, Riley stops and looks over his shoulder. You follow his gaze and see the faintest trace of movement, likely the deer from earlier, now farther away, blending seamlessly with the trees. You smile and give Riley a reassuring pat. He seems satisfied, his tail wagging softly, and you both press on. As you near the end of the trail, the forest begins to thin, giving way to the open field where the houses sit in the distance. The snow here is marked with the tracks of earlier walkers, their footprints weaving patterns that crisscross your own path. The sight feels comforting, a quiet reminder that this winter wonderland is shared by others, even if you didn't meet them along the way. By the time you reach your front door, Poppy is dragging just a little. You scoop her up, and she melts into your arms, her small body warm against yours despite the cold. Riley, the ever-steady companion, steps onto the porch with his usual composed grace, his leash trailing lightly in the snow behind him. Inside, the warmth is immediate and welcoming. The heater in your front hall hums softly in the background, and the faint scent of cinnamon lingers from the candle you'd lit the night before. You unclip the leashes and hang them by the door, brushing the snow off of Riley's fur and patting him dry with a towel. Poppy wiggles in your arms as you gently wipe her down too, her tiny nose sniffling at the towel as if it's the most fascinating thing she's ever encountered. Riley shakes himself off, a few stray drops of melted snow splattering onto the floor. You chuckle, grabbing another towel to clean up as Poppy darts into the living room, her energy suddenly renewed. The living room is your favorite part of the house this time of year. You turn on your gas fireplace, its glow casting a warm, flickering light across the room. The couch, piled with soft blankets and cushions, beckons invitingly. Poppy has already claimed her spot on the couch, curling into a tiny ball at one end. Riley follows, climbing up with the careful deliberation of a dog who knows his size. He circles once, twice, before settling down with a deep, contented sigh, his head resting against the armrest. You join them, kicking off your boots and tucking your legs under one of the blankets. Poppy stirs just enough to nuzzle into your side, her little body radiating warmth. Riley shifts slightly, leaning his weight against your legs in a way that feels grounding, comforting. The fire crackles, its warmth seeping into the room. Outside, the world is still wrapped in snow. The faint sound of dripping icicles and a distant bird call are the only noises breaking the winter hush. You close your eyes for a moment, letting yourself sink into the stillness. Poppy's soft snores fill the air, a tiny rhythm that matches the rise and fall of her breathing. Riley stretches out, his paws twitching slightly in a dream, and you can't help but wonder if he's dreaming of the snowy trail, the rabbit, or maybe even the deer. The room feels so cozy. Everything feels right. The warmth of the fire, the softness of the blankets, the steady presence of your two companions. It's enough to make the world outside fade away. You rest your head back against the cushions, your fingers brushing lightly over Poppy's fur. Riley lets out a soft, contented huff, his tail thumping once against the couch before going still. Your eyes grow heavy, the glow of the fire blurring into a soft haze as sleep begins to pull you under. And as you drift off, surrounded by the gentle warmth of your home and the steady rhythm of your dog's breathing, you think to yourself that there's nothing quite like a morning like this. Simple, quiet, and full of the kind of moments that make life feel rich and whole.